Hey, you guys, welcome to the Worthiness Project podcast. I'm your host, Valley Ann, and I'm so excited you're here with me today to talk all things worthiness. Okay. And the topic that I'm going to talk about today is something that I have found keeps trickling in my daily life. And like I talk about all the time, when you're on this worthiness journey, you're always going to be a work in progress. Okay. There's always going to be things that you're going to be aware of, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a struggle. It just means you're going to be like, oh, that's there again. Oh, I'm aware of that. And that is the goal. And that is my hope for all of you who have been listening to the Worthiness Project podcast since I first started it, to really know that we're on this journey for a long time and awareness is key. And when we're aware, we can shift, right? That's when these changes can happen. And we're not here to change ourselves or because something's wrong with us. It's just about finding that alignment and that fulfillment. Okay. And understanding what works for me, what works for us. Everyone is different on this self worth journey. And hopefully, if you've had opportunities to listen to the different guests that I've had here on the Worthiness Project podcast, everyone has a different self worth journey. Okay. But the ultimate message is that we need to start this journey. We need to be aware of it. We want to be on it. All these amazing things. Okay. So today I want to talk about permission. All right. And I've been noticing this a lot in my communities. I've been noticing this a lot just talking with my friends and family. I've been noticing this a lot with the clients that I coach that are business owners, but the clients that I'm coaching that are also just on their worthy journey, and myself included. It's this word permission. Okay. We are so programmed, or at least many of us, you might find yourself seeking this form of permission before we, relax, or this form of permission before we, do something that sometimes is out of our routine. Why? Because we have just been programmed for so long to many capacities to think that we need to earn something that is fun, or we need to maybe validate something that we're doing that isn't work related or isn't producing income or doesn't seem to be quote unquote effective, okay, or quote unquote productive. So today, I just want to talk about giving yourself permission. Okay. Because this is a big one. When we're talking and our vocabulary is saying things like, well, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. Even when we're on this journey, we can catch ourselves saying, I know better, so I should be doing this. Now, why is that a thing, right? Where did that come from? So, the first step that I am inviting you and anyone that maybe that you're talking about when it comes to worth, whether you're just starting this journey, whether you just found this podcast, or whether you've been on your worthy journey for a long time, okay, is checking in on your vocabulary. How does it sound when you're talking to others that you are close with? How does it sound in your day-to-day conversation? What are you saying about yourself and what you're doing? Do you find yourself having a lot of should? I should be doing this. Today, I chose to watch movies and relax, even though I should have been doing X, Y, and Z. Okay. So, when you are now going to be observing yourself, I want you to take yourself kind of like out of your body, out of the picture. And I want you just to, for a week, okay, just kind of be aware. Like, oh my gosh, I just had a conversation with a coworker and I found myself literally shoulding all over myself. Okay. And I want you just to check in with yourself. I don't want you to judge yourself. I don't want you to feel like you have to fix it immediately. I want you just to feel it out. Be like, okay, in what circumstances am I shoulding a lot? Right? Like, is it when I'm explaining about things I need to do with my family or my business or my job? Or do I feel like I need to be proving myself to somebody? Or do I feel like I just need to be proving myself to me? Okay. So once you kind of make notes, okay, be a scientist, for lack of better words here, and literally just observe yourself for a week and just catch yourself, get your phone, get your note section out, and just be like, okay, cool. I was shitting all over myself in this conversation. I was shitting all over myself with this. Okay. And whatever it is, and just make a note. And then just start to be aware. So when you want to start to explain to somebody or feel like you need to validate your choices, I want you to be like, well, why do I feel that way? Why do I feel like I need to be validating? I have to be validating my choices. I have to prove to somebody that, my body was telling me that I needed a break. Even though the I get to list, the to-do list, but I like to call it the I get to list, okay, things you get to do on your list is long. Well, why do we feel like we have to justify it? Okay, so I want to give you permission to give yourself permission. Okay, and I want you to start asking yourself, why do I feel like I need permission here? Am I seeking permission? Right? In this, maybe I'm not asking somebody, right? Like, I want to do this, or I'm going to go do this now. Will you give me permission? But sometimes, even just feeling like we have to explain what we're doing to somebody in a very quiet way through a text message or just checking in because we feel like we need someone to say to us, you should rest today. It's okay. Or it's okay that you didn't do that. We need to be able to give that to ourselves. Okay. And that is my mission on this podcast. That is my mission of the Worthiness Project. That is my mission of Valley Ann, everything. Okay. Is that we want to unlearn these thought process, this pressure, this guilt that we put on ourselves, and start to fully understand that what we choose to do is because that is what fulfills us. Okay. Just what is productive to us may be not productive to somebody else. There is no right or wrong. Okay. Because at the end of the day, when we are finally living in a way, when we're finally showing up for ourselves in a way that fulfills us, then we have won. Okay. And what fulfills me might be different than what fulfills my family, what fulfills my best friend, someone I truly care about, someone I may even be very similar to. We still are different individuals. Okay. So I want you to put yourself on this permission experiment and just start observing where, in what situations, are there certain people that I feel like I have to explain over and over to? And why is that? Like, dig in a little. Okay. This worthy journey is about digging in. And it's also about maybe sometimes asking ourselves hard questions, as we've learned. And as we learn on our journey, the more questions we ask ourselves, the more we learn of what we want to shift, the things we want to keep, and the things we want to maybe grow out of, and something we want to grow into. Okay. So this episode is going to be a little bit shorter than others, but I want us to start on this permission experiment. Okay. And I want you just to kind of have with you like a daily question that you ask yourself every single day, maybe every hour, maybe every time you have an interaction with someone. When you're sitting there thinking about something, maybe something traumatic has happened in your life recently. Maybe you are going through a mega transition. When we're going through transitions, we sometimes forget to give ourselves permission to be human, to understand that change, no matter what kind of change it is, no matter how adaptable you may or may not be as an individual, transition is still a real thing for everybody. Okay. And we need to give ourselves that permission, if you will, to allow us to have that transition time, to allow us to have that healing time, to allow yourself to say, if today your body is saying, hey, you need to rest, you need to do X, Y, and Z, there should be, ironically, there should be no shoulding, right? Whatever your get to list, without our health, without our ability of feeling fulfilled, the resentment bills, the burnout bills, all these things just start to pile up and they catch up to us regardless. So at the end of the day, we need to start giving ourselves the permission and start asking ourselves, am I seeking these external situations? Am I seeking this somewhere? And why is that? Where did that come from? Okay. And then from that observation, from that awareness, from you asking yourself the right question about permission, you then can start to shift. You'll slowly check in with yourself and say, am I seeking permission here? And if the answer is yes, the next question is, can I give myself the permission? Because, a lot of times when we're seeking external circumstances or external validation, that validation only lasts like a little bit anyway, right? It's like that instant gratification feeling, and then it goes away because we have not addressed the true issue. We have not healed the true wound, if you will, that needs just some extra TLC. Okay. So when we can start to check in and ask ourselves about this permission, we then are able to give ourselves that permission. We're able to stop seeking it elsewhere and just check in with ourselves. So remember, the first question you're going to ask yourself is, am I seeking permission? And this is going to be after your week-long experiment of just taking note of your responses to different situations, to things you may or may not be seeking, just how you're feeling. That heavy feeling of feeling like we have to explain things or have to do this. It's like, where did this have to come from? Okay. So once we can identify that, we then can start to really just be aware of it, right? In all our interactions, we can address it before we start seeking that external instant gratification, if you will, and start just giving it to ourselves and just start fulfilling it for ourselves. So with that being said, like I said, today was kind of like a short and sweet little bit of episode today, but I wanted to just give you the permission to start diving into the concept of permission, because when we know that we are the creator of the best version of ourselves, we are the only ones that need to give ourselves this permission that we seek. Okay. To know that our best on this day is the best. Our best in this season is the best. Okay. What we can deliver now is what we can deliver. And just going through these cycles and our seasons of our worth, our seasons of our healing, and being open to learning about ourselves and knowing we are growing into things and we're outgrowing certain things. And here comes that word permission, and to give yourself that permission to know it's okay. We are humans, you guys. We are individuals. We are meant to grow, change, and progress. We are meant to be like, well, that doesn't feel right anymore, because we're aware. And when we're aware, like I always say, we can then shift. We can shift, habits and things that maybe don't serve us anymore. We can shift boundaries. We can start shifting, things that we choose to do every day on a daily basis to make us feel like we want to be that best version of us starting today, not yesterday. Knowing that we don't need a new year on the calendar. We don't need a birthday. We don't need a milestone. We just know that tomorrow is a new day and I can start again. Tomorrow is a new day, or this lunchtime is a new time of the day. So let's say in the morning you start realizing, you are seeking permission elsewhere, and you make a decision like, okay, I'm aware of it. So next time I feel that way, I'm going to pause. I'm not going to reach out. I'm going to ask myself, am I seeking permission for this? Where is this coming from? Why do I feel like I need permission? And you're going to really have this inner dialogue with yourself. And that inner dialogue is going to be more satisfactory than any kind of permission a family member, friend, significant other, partner could give you. because when we get that inner validation, you guys, it's go time. Okay? So, start taking note of your permission habits. Start just being an observer starting now, listening to this podcast. Start taking notes in your phone or in a notebook and just be observant. Don't judge it. Don't try to fix it immediately. Then, once you realize kind of particular patterns of certain situations, certain people that make you feel this permission, you then can start to be aware of it and start asking yourself those two questions to start that inner dialogue. Am I seeking permission? Why? Where is this coming from? And this is before you're having any dialogue with anybody else. Okay? So I gave you permission to dive into your permission to then start to get closer and closer to that inner worth, that inner validation. That only person that needs to give you permission is you. So until next time, my friends, have a beautiful, excuse me, I don't know what that was, a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day, evening, and I will catch you next time on the Worthiness Project podcast. Bye for now. See you later.